A country where being born a triplet means you'll be separated from your parents forever. Where laughing at certain times can lead to the most severe consequences. Where you need government permission just to travel to the next city. And where damaging a newspaper with a picture of the leader can land you in jail. This is the daily reality for 25 million people living under the world's most feared dictator. This is North Korea, and what you are about to discover will shock you to the core. Let me start with a story that will make you appreciate every moment of freedom you have. The book The Great Famine in North Korea describes something so heartbreaking it is hard to believe. North Korean families are forced to let their older relatives succumb to the famine so that the younger ones can survive and work. Many older relatives made the ultimate sacrifice so that their children and grandchildren can live another day. This is not a natural disaster. This is the direct consequence of living under a totalitarian regime that values maintaining power over protecting the lives of its people. So how did this nightmare begin? When World War II ended and the United States, Britain, and the Soviet Union defeated countries like Japan and Germany, Japan's occupation of the Korean peninsula ended. The United States and the Soviet Union decided to divide the country into two parts. North Korea was under Soviet control, while South Korea was under American influence. North Korea adopted Soviet communist ideology, and anti-Japanese guerrilla leader Kim Il-sung became the country's first supreme leader. His family has ruled the country ever since. Today, Kim Il-sung's grandson, Kim Jong-un, continues this reign of terror as supreme leader and dictator. This is a family dictatorship, where every action of the government is aimed at one sole purpose, maintaining the Kim family's rule at all costs. North Korea has a population of about 25 million people. If you look at the country on a world map, you can see it sitting right above South Korea with vast China to the west. But there is one thing that will surprise you. If you look at a satellite image of the area at night, you will see China and South Korea shining brightly, but right in the middle, there is only darkness. In North Korea, people can't read at night, can't watch TV, and most go to bed by 7 p.m. because they've literally gotten used to living in the dark. The electricity situation is so bad that in 1995, even the frog population began to decline. Why? Because people were so hungry that they started hunting frogs to survive. The North Korean famine of 1995 to 1998 was one of the largest man-made disasters in history. The government has never released an exact figure for the number of people who did not survive the food shortages, but experts estimate that between 500,000 and 2 million people died during this period. That equates to 8% of the country's population starving to death while the Kim family lived in luxury. Now, let's talk about something you probably take for granted every day: freedom of movement. In North Korea, people are not allowed to move from one area to another without government permission. They have to ask permission from the state and provide a detailed reason for their move. And this only applies to movement within the country. But if someone wants to travel internationally, if they want to visit another country, then these restrictions become completely unreasonable. No one is allowed to go abroad without special permission from the government. And going abroad without permission is considered treason. If someone tries to leave the country illegally, their entire family can be punished. But despite knowing these deadly consequences, people still risk their lives to flee. Most try to escape to China, where the land border is easier to cross than the heavily militarized demilitarized zone with South Korea. But the cruel thing is, China is also a dictatorship, and the Chinese government regularly sends these desperate defectors back to North Korea to face punishment. This is where things get really dark. North Korea has divided its entire population into three classes based on political loyalty. First, there are the core classes, those who are absolutely loyal. Second, the wavering classes, those who are uncertain or skeptical. And third, the hostile classes, those who are considered enemies of the government. This system is called Songbun, and it controls almost everything about your life. Even marriage is determined by your Songbun score. If you are classified as hostile, you cannot marry someone of your own class. Your social status is hereditary and almost impossible to change. The capital, Pyongyang, is where the government spends most of its resources on creating a good image for foreign visitors. Only those with high Songbun scores are allowed to live there. Those deemed enemies are forbidden from coming within 50 kilometers of the city. But here's the most paranoid part of the system: families are forced to spy on each other. Those who fall under the government's suspicion are often followed by family members who act as informants. This means parents can't trust their children, Children can't trust their parents, and siblings can't trust each other because anyone can report your conversations to the secret police. If you thought the Songbun system was cruel, just wait and see what happens to triplets. In North Korea, whenever triplets are born, it is state policy for triplets to be placed under state care by the Kim Jong-un regime. They are taken from their families at birth and raised in state-run orphanages. Just before giving birth, mothers carrying triplets are summoned to Pyongyang so that both they and their babies can receive good care during and after birth. From birth until the age of 4, the triplets are kept in Pyongyang while their parents are sent back to their villages. The government gives parents small gifts in exchange for their children, gold rings for families with triplets of girls and silver knives for families with triplets of boys. But make no mistake, this is not generosity. The official excuse is that triplets are considered lucky and the government raises them for 4 years to ease the burden on their parents. But the real reason is much more sinister. Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, believed that if anyone could challenge his authority, it would be triplets. So during the crucial first 4 years of life when the parent-child bond is formed, these children are separated from their families and taught that Kim Jong-un's family is everything, that he is their god, and that they must obey his orders without question. Even in the darkest places, the human spirit can always find light. If you enjoyed today's video, please give us a like and don't forget to subscribe. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video. This is something that will make you look in the mirror and appreciate your freedom to choose how you look. In North Korea, even your hairstyle is controlled by the state. Hair salons across the country are required to display government-issued posters detailing a limited list of acceptable hairstyles. For men, hair must be short, no longer than 5 centimeters. Sideburns must not extend past the ears. And here's the scary part. The most popular hairstyle is Kim Jong-un's, which is considered a symbol of loyalty to the supreme leader. For women, hairstyle rules depend on whether you are married or not. Married women can wear their hair a little longer with simple accessories. Unmarried women must keep their hair short and neat. Hair dyeing, perming, or any Western hairstyles are strictly prohibited. What happens if you show up with an unapproved hairstyle? You face public shaming, written warnings, or even a forced haircut by the authorities. Why control something as private as hair so tightly? Because in North Korea, conformity is political. A bold hairstyle shows independent thinking, and independent thinking is considered extremely dangerous to the regime. In North Korea, even the slightest act of disrespect toward a leader can ruin your life. Accidentally damaging a portrait of Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, or Kim Jong-un can result in immediate arrest. Leaders are considered sacred figures, and absolute loyalty is not only expected but required for survival. Citizens are required to attend state events and celebrations such as the Day of the Sun, the anniversary of Kim Il-sung's birthday. Refusing to participate or appearing indifferent can result in government surveillance or severe punishment. The government has passed laws specifically targeting what it calls reactionary culture and ideology. The Anti-Reactionary Culture and Ideology Law was enacted in December 2020, which bans all foreign media, especially content from South Korea or the United States. Think about it, while most countries export pop culture to the world, North Korea punishes its own citizens for embracing any culture from outside its borders. K-pop, which is loved globally for its energy and creativity, is seen by the North Korean regime as a direct threat to its control. Why? Because K-pop represents freedom, modern youth culture, and ideas that challenge North Korea's strict values of blind obedience and complete isolation. Owning K-pop music or South Korean dramas can lead to prison sentences, detention in harsh re-education facilities, or worse. Your smile is free, but in North Korea it is considered a capital offense. How do you feel knowing this? Let us know in the comments below. Communications in North Korea are a nightmare of surveillance and control. Phone calls, internet access, and even landline calls are constantly monitored by the Ministry of State Security. As of 2025, about 6 million North Koreans own mobile phones, but they can only use Koryo Link, a completely closed domestic network. The network has no global internet connection and no international calling capabilities. It is like a phone that can only be used to communicate with other prisoners in the same prison. If someone wants to make a call abroad, they need special permission from the government and must use a monitored landline. The cost of a single international call can be several months' salary for the average North Korean, making it unaffordable for most people. Only a small number of authorized users, often government elites, can use these international lines, and every conversation is recorded, analyzed. Your phone, which was meant to be a tool of freedom and connection, has become a tool of oppression and surveillance. Here's something that might make you rethink how you hold your morning paper. In North Korea, picking up the wrong paper can be a serious political faux pas. The official state newspaper, Rodong Sinmun, regularly features pictures of Kim Jong-un, and damaging or even folding his image is considered a serious act of disrespect. Even accidentally folding a newspaper in the wrong place can result in a fine. By law, any images of Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-un must be handled with extreme care. Newspapers cannot be used for wrapping, wiping surfaces, or otherwise thrown away. Dropping a newspaper or accidentally stepping on it is considered a breach of loyalty to the state. Punishment can include public criticism sessions or short-term detention, depending on how officials interpret your intentions. The problem isn't necessarily journalism, it's power and control. In North Korea, every action, even the way you hold a piece of paper, is a test of political loyalty. The regime extends control to the smallest gestures, creating a culture where fear governs every aspect of behavior, and even touching the wrong corner of a page can cast doubt on your devotion to the state. Now I'm going to tell you about one of the craziest rules in North Korea. Something so absurd it sounds like a black comedy, but it's actually very real. Just like schools in many countries observe a moment of silence for historical figures, North Korea holds a memorial service for its supreme leaders. The memorial service doesn't last for just a few minutes. It lasts 14,400 minutes. That's 10 days of mandatory mourning. According to the laugh or die rule, when the anniversary of Kim Jong-un's grandfather or father's death comes for 10 consecutive days, no citizen in North Korea is allowed to laugh, cry loudly, talk loudly, go shopping, dance, or even drink alcohol. If someone's birthday falls on these 10 days, you are not allowed to celebrate. You are only allowed to grieve and pay your respects. And here's the most terrifying part. If someone in your family dies during these 10 days, you are not allowed to cry or hold a funeral. The funeral must wait until the 10 days are over. Until then, you must keep the body and suffer in silence. Imagine losing a loved one and being forced to suppress your grief because the state requires you to mourn their dead dictator. This is the level of psychological control this regime exerts over every human emotion. Despite everything I've said, North Korea still calls itself a democracy. Its official name is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Even though Kim Jong-un is clearly a dictator, they still hold elections and dress themselves up as the voice of the people being heard. But here's the absurd reality: there is only one candidate on each ballot, and that candidate is always Kim Jong-un. Unlike democratic countries, where citizens can choose from a variety of political parties and candidates, North Korea has only one party, the Workers' Party of Korea. And that party only has one candidate for each position. Voting is mandatory for all citizens over the age of 17. North Koreans understand that if they do not vote, they will face serious consequences. This is why North Korea always reports 100% voter turnout and 100% of the votes going to Kim Jong-un. This is not an election, but a forced compliance ritual designed to create the illusion of democracy while maintaining absolute control. Now let me tell you about one of the most demeaning policies you will ever hear about. Because North Korea restricts international trade due to sanctions, they are facing a severe shortage of agricultural fertilizer. The government's solution? They order human waste to be collected and used as fertilizer for agriculture. In 2019, Kim Jong-un forced every North Korean citizen to contribute a whopping 100 kilograms of human excrement per person. Think about it. The average person produces only 150 to 250 grams of waste per day. It would take more than a year of perfect collection to reach 100 kilograms. Citizens have criticized the policy as a way for Kim Jong-un to extort money from the people. Those who have money can pay the government to avoid this requirement, while those who cannot afford it face jail time. The regime is constantly looking for new ways to humiliate and control its people, and this demeaning fertilizer order is just another tool of repression. The 105-story Ryong Hotel, which dominates the Pyongyang skyline, is the most visible symbol of North Korea's failed ambitions. When construction began in 1987, it was intended to be the world's tallest hotel, with more than 3,000 rooms and a revolving restaurant, and vast conference rooms. But construction came to an abrupt halt in 1992 after the collapse of the Soviet Union, triggering a severe financial crisis. For years, the pyramid-shaped structure stood like an abandoned, windowless skeleton looming over the capital. In 2008, an Egyptian company began installing glass panels, and by 2011 they had added LED lights, giving the building a sparkling facade at night. However, despite its modern appearance, the hotel remains completely abandoned and is not due to open until 2025. Efforts to attract foreign investors have failed due to international sanctions and government isolation. There are serious concerns about structural safety and earthquake resistance after decades of construction delays. Today, the Ryugyong Hotel is a perfect metaphor for North Korea itself. Its flashy exterior masks decades of instability, empty promises, and systemic problems. If the country's tallest building has remained abandoned and unusable for more than 30 years, what does that tell you about the system behind it? But this is where our story takes a different turn. No matter how powerful and fearsome a dictatorship is, it cannot last forever. Even in North Korea, there are clear signs that Kim Jong-un's iron grip on power is beginning to falter. A quiet revolution is taking place, led by North Korean women operating in black markets across the country. After the terrible famine of the 1990s, when the government's distribution system collapsed, women were forced to become entrepreneurs just to feed their families. These informal markets, known as jangmadang, have evolved from desperate survival mechanisms into networks of economic independence that the government can no longer fully control. As the majority of the population slowly discovers the truth about the outside world, the government's spy system is failing as people have found ways to work together despite the surveillance. The revolution did not happen in the streets with protests and violence. It happened in secret, in the markets, in whispered conversations, and in the minds of 25 million people who were slowly awakening to the realization that they deserved a better life than one filled with fear and oppression. Kim Jong-un may still have nuclear weapons and prison camps, but he is losing something far more important, the minds and hearts of his own people. And once that is gone, no dictatorship can last forever. Even in the darkest places, human spirit can always find light. Do you believe in a brighter future for the people of North Korea? What do you think of this incredible story of resilience and hope emerging from one of the darkest places on Earth? Your support through each subscribe is the biggest motivation for us to continue making videos like this. Subscribe to the channel today, and together, we are so glad you are with us today. Please leave a comment, like the video to support us, and subscribe for more videos. See you soon.